Hey, just getting starting out in wood turning, decided to give the hobby a try. Now that you've picked up the wood lathe and you're not sure exactly what tools you need to get your project started with, we'll keep watching. We're going to go over that right now. Hey, welcome back to the Woodcrafting Place, where we bring you woodworking knowledge each week to help you improve your time in the shop and make it more efficient and more effective and enjoy it more. So for those of you who have watched my videos to this point, you by now know that the wood lathe is my favorite tool in the shop. And the one thing that I keep coming to is there's a select group of tools that I keep going back to for both spindles and then one or two more for making bowls. And those are the key items that get me through most projects. We're going to cover what those tools are and how to purchase them without breaking the bank. Hey, and if you like what you see today, make sure you hit that thumb, like, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. That way you get notified each week of all the content that we bring you to help you work with woodworking knowledge. Okay, no tool discussion would be complete without starting with an introduction to steels and tool steels. There's high-speed steel, there's high carbon steel, and then there's carbide. Okay, so we'll start with the high carbon steel first. Mankind learned a long time ago that adding carbon into a steel alloy allowed it to get much harder. The beautiful thing about high carbon steel, as long as you can maintain the temper, you can get a very sharp edge on it. But the thing you want to keep in mind is, as soon as that edge gets blue, you've lost the temper on that tool, and it will no longer maintain a sharp edge for any period of time. Next is high-speed steel. High-speed steel is a product of the Industrial Revolution, and an innovator named Frederick Taylor, who's also well known for industrial engineering innovations, through his efforts with a steel company, decided to take various steels, add tungsten and some other alloys to the steel, to the high-speed steel, excuse me, the high carbon steel, heat them to a higher temperature to obtain the hardness. And what they were able to accomplish was a steel that could withstand higher temperatures without losing its temper. Now, there are numerous flavors and types of high-speed steel. You usually start out with M2, which is your standard readily available steel. Now there's other alloys, M42 and so on, and cryogenic, heat treated, and there's all kinds of crazy things. And the price goes up accordingly. So, but standard M2 tool steel, that'll give you the product with the properties you need so you can sharpen it on any grinder. If it gets blue while you're sharpening, it'll maintain its edge, and it's good to go. And last is carbide. Carbide's different because it's not a standard wrought steel like high carbon or high-speed steel is. It's a sintered material. It's a matrix that's under pressure is formed, and it's a super hard material. Tungsten carbide, as the name implies, has tungsten and other alloys in it. And because it's so hard and expensive to manufacture, typically a carbide tool, like a little tool here, has a bit that's replaceable. So when this gets dull or chips, the only thing that you replace is that little tip. But in many cases, like this round bit on there, all you do is you turn it 90 degrees and you go from a chipped out, broken edge to a sharp edge. That's it, and you're ready to go. It's quick, it's easy, no time at the grinder, it's a few seconds and you're back into it. Now, carbide will not get an edge like high-speed and high carbon steel will. It is harder and can take more abuse than the high-speed before it loses its edge, and typically don't really dull as much as they chip because of the difference in the metallurgy, the structure. And the carbide stands up to acrylics and man-made materials. When it comes to carbide carbide tools are, for the most part, all scraping tools. Now, it will give you the advantage of not needing to spend as much time sharpening, and that's a good thing. And you'll spend the extra time sanding. You'll balance that trade-off. So what are the basic tools that you're going to need? Remember I said early that there's a basic set of tools that I keep coming back to. What are they? All right, so in no particular order, you're going to need a roughing gouge. Roughing gouge has a geometry like you see here. This is a little more aggressive than it probably would come from the factory. I like a little more aggressive edge so I can take a bigger bit out of the wood. This is for roughing spindles, the outside of spindles. This is never to be used inside of a bowl. And if you get into really big stuff, you move up to a roughing gouge that looks like that. Next, we'll stick it also in the spindles. So a scraper, a nice round-edged scraper. I find the bigger the scraper, the better. With a round nose scraper, it gives me nice smooth curves. Good for outside curves and inside curves, down to that radius, of course. So very handy, useful, and as you learn to get that burr on the edge, you can get a pretty smooth cut with it. All right, staying on spindles, a fingernail or spindle gouge. So after you're done roughing, with the roughing gouge, as the name implies, you will get a nice smooth cut with the spindle gouge. Parting tool. This tool is meant to make small grooves in the spindle that you would use as indicators so you can get your sizes right. It's a narrow tool, and you'll notice this line in the middle. It's actually a little wider right in the middle than the edges. That's that way so this doesn't bind. A skew. Now you can get this with a straight edge like you see here, or a rounded edge. Both work, both are great tools. I use the bigger straight edge more, probably because it's just quicker and easier to sharpen. Moving over to bowls. And you don't need a lot of different bowl tools, but most of the work is right here. Standard 3/8 or 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Again, I don't go too sharp with a bowl gouge on the angle, so I get a nice smooth even cut riding the bevel. You're going to need some tools that help enable the lathe to do its job. And your lathe may come, probably, especially if you buy new, will come with a drive center and a livestock. Stop rolling around. There we go. This spins. This engages from the headstock. This makes it turn, and this just allows it to turn and holds it like that on center. You're going to want some kind of caliper. So as you're working on a spindle and you want to get the shape right, you make a series of grooves, and we'll show you that with this, and then you use this to make sure that that groove stops at the right size. And the last basic tool that you want is a faceplate. I do most of my bowl turning off of a faceplate. I have some scroll chucks which get used, but this is such a sturdy, reliable, repeatable way to attach the bowl. It just can't be beat. So this, you may also get one of these with your lathe, especially, like I said, if you're buying new, that will probably come in the box. So once you've done a little plan for whatever project you're going to do, you can see here, I have my diagram. I'm going to make a Christmas ornament. I do that every year. First things first, we are going to use our roughing gouge, and that's exactly what the name says. That's for getting the edges off of the corner of the block. Presenting the tool. Rolling here, I'm working. The only thing I'm hitting first is I am hitting right here on the bevel. I get that where I want it. And I roll it down. Show you, you can do what you do with the roughing gouge with the skew. And here, the skew, the trick is keeping the point high. You can see the point here is up in the air. Now I'm going to ride the bevel. Parting tool. Present it. Rub the bevel on the bottom side and just roll it down until you get just the smooth cut. If you're not comfortable using the caliper on the part while it's moving, no worries, stop it and check it. Now, you can use the skew for making the rolled corners, or you can use a spindle gouge or fingernail gouge. And I'm going to use that for now. And for now, we're just going to go and plane these over in the direction we want. So, engage the bevel again. Lift up in the back end, and as I lift, I'm going to roll the edge like that. Again, we're riding the bevel. Lifting and roll. Now, we're going to go over to the round scraper. This is the tool that you want to use for inside curves. Notice I use it up on its edge. I want to take advantage of the burr that's on the very end. So, last tool that we want to go over is our bowl gouge. Again, like the other tools, you want to make sure that you are riding the bevel. Keeping the bevel engaged will prevent catches. So when we engage the tool, I want to be at approximately a 45 to engage the bevel. All right, so one final section on the basic tools that you'll need for wood turning, and it's sharpening. Whenever you have chisels of this type, you're going to need some way of sharpening them, and the most opportune way that most guys find to sharpen is with a bench grinder. Now you'll need some fixtures to hold the tools at repeatable angles. And you can see here we have a platform. I keep it at a nice sharp angle. And that's for grinding skews. And what looks like it should be a hard tool to sharpen. You have your arm here. This rides against here. And as it's spinning, you just rotate. And you get a very repeatable sharpening. Pretty quick too. And then lastly, what you'll want to have in your toolbox to really help reduce the amount of time coming over to the grinder and grinding is just a basic small diamond sharpening card. And after a while of turning, you just plant this in your hip, take your card against the heel to the point, 3, 3, and just go back and forth, and you'll find you'll return your edge to a nice sharp edge with just a few strokes of a diamond card. These are excellent investment. Will save you a lot of time here. Eventually you will have to go back and reshape the hollow grind on your tools, but for a project or 2 projects, you'll find this will keep you off of the grinder. So that'll do it. That'll teach you give you all the basic tools that you'll need to start wood turning after you have your lathe, of course. And so to help you decide what tool brands and all that you need, I've put all the links down below, and you'll also see on the display that's up on your screen now, it's a nice page which lists each one of the tools with a link on Amazon to where to buy those tools. And again, this is a Hurricane brand. Found their tools to be reliable, consistent, and reasonable in cost. So for beginning tools, it's a good place to start. So as far as all the other support tools, the centers, if you didn't get them in the faceplate with your lathe, you'll see the affiliate links down below as well. And of course, sharpening. Now I made my own sharpening fixtures that you see here. I have the ability to do welding and all that in the shop, but the Wolverine setup, the excellent set, you'll see that listed down below as well. And of course, if you're not going to start with bowls, you don't need the faceplate if you didn't get one with a bowl gouge. You'll also notice that in the Wolverine or the One Way, whatever brand you look at, you'll find an item that looks like this, which goes on a setup like you see here. It holds the tool, and this just helps you for doing bowl gouges. This is by no means a complete tutorial on how to use lathe tools. However, you got to see some basic cutting techniques and how to use the individual tools. It'll get you started so that you can start having some fun. So if you liked what you saw today, make sure you hit the thumb and like, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. That way you get notified each week of all the content that we bring you. And don't forget to check the affiliate links down below. That'll show you a very cost-effective way to buy the tools that you need. So, small contribution to the channel to help us continue to bring you the woodworking knowledge that we bring you each week. Really appreciate you being here with us today, and thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.